What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video, baby. Today we're going to be breaking down 4 of my favorite acting books that have really helped me out in my process on just figuring out what works for me, what doesn't. And all these books are pretty much entirely different. We have 3 that I think are more like acting technique and scene analysis kind of centric, while the other one is strictly about the acting like business side of it. Which I think is really, really cool as well, and very informative, especially for people kind of starting out in the industry. So let's go ahead and dive into it, baby. We're going to start with the more business side one, which is by Sara Mornell, called Even the Best Hookers Need Pimps. What a title, dude. This How to Be a Working Actor in Today's Hollywood. This one is really, really dope. I really like this by Sara Mornell. She basically just dives into everything regarding like agents and managers and casting directors and just networking and getting in front of people and connections and how LA works and what to do and what not to do, the do's and don'ts of the acting world. And I think it's really, really informative. And one of my favorite parts of this book, not one of my favorite, it is my favorite part of this book, is the interview section on the back end of it, which is phenomenal. She interviews 4 people. Jennifer Cooper, casting director, Ethan Embry, he's an actor, and then you have Sherry Thomas, who's a casting director, and Jesse Williams, actor from Grey's Anatomy. So 4 really highly touted people from the industry, 2 actors and 2 casting directors. And it's just really cool, especially as an actor, to like hear other actors' stories, and they dive into the ups and downs of the industries, you know, different things that they faced. And it's a good 10 pages, or maybe not 10 pages each, but, you know, 5 to 10 pages each of just question after question about, once again, their life, what they've been through, the ups and downs, and a lot of, like, at least, you know, from my point of view, being an actor, like, I really related to a lot of what they were saying as actors, and just hearing that other people are kind of going through similar things at certain points is really, really cool, and it's just really inspiring. And then you have the casting directors, too, which it's insane to see it from a casting director's point of view, and like it actually provides a lot of relief on what their process is and how they kind of see actors and see the whole thing. So it's really, really cool, man. Read this book, you know, even if, you know, like I say, especially if you're starting out, because it talks about getting an agent and manager and all that thing, you know, all that fun stuff, just the business side of it. But even if you're already in the industry, really recommend it, man. Really fun book for sure, because I feel like a lot of people don't really, you know, they get so caught up in the lines and the scene analysis and all these things about acting where you kind of forget that it's a business. There's a business side to this. You are a product that you're constantly trying to, you're doing Shark Tank every week for auditions. You know what I mean? You're out there trying to promote your product to people trying to buy it and invest in it. And so you're trying to show your value. And so there is a business side to what we do in the acting world. And what I love about that book is it really, really dives into that. And gives some great pointers regarding the business and showing how to navigate it. Because it doesn't matter how much talent you have, if you don't know how to navigate the industry or you don't know where to start, you're not going to go anywhere. And so I really, really like that book, man. Shout out Sara Mornell. Even the Best Hookers Need Pimps. Go check it out. So now with the actual business side of the industry out of the way, we're going to go ahead and dive into 3 books, which really dive into the scene analysis and script analysis of it all. Starting with Sanford Meisner's Meisner on Acting. Man, this is the most recent book that I've read out of, actually, no, sorry, I read Sara Mornell's most recently. But out of these 3, this is the one I've read most recently. Phenomenal book, man. I really do truly love this one. Sanford Meisner is so interesting because I originally read these other 2 books, which we'll get into, which is more of an internal thing. But Meisner is all about external focus, right? He thinks that if you focus too much on your internal being and your internal self, you're going to be in your head. You're going to be, you know, in your body. Like, you need to shift that focus away from yourself. That's the only way you're not going to be in your head and actually be present within the scene. And so his big thing is just listening and reacting, right? That's all we do in everyday life, and that kind of gets lost in acting with all the different steps and techniques and stuff that kind of go on. And Meisner knows that, and he talks about that on how, let's just get back to the basics. Talk and listen and respond. Just those 3 things. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's what we do in everyday life. That's what we should do in acting, because we are living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And he's obviously known for his repetition exercise, which is where you and one other person sit across from each other and say the same thing back to each other. One person says something, the other person repeats it. One person says something, the other person repeats it. They can say something, the other person repeats it. And what it does, the whole purpose of this exercise is because you don't have lines, you're not thinking about words anymore. You're just really listening to the person and reacting. And it dumbs down human communication so far to where you have to listen to the other person. All that is off of you. And it dumbs it down to where emotion is the only thing you can really grab onto, if that makes sense. It's a really interesting exercise. I personally love it. And he really dives deep into all that in the Sanford Meisner on Acting book, which once again, I absolutely love. Phenomenal and very different than the next two books that we're going to talk about. And so this next book is the first acting book that like really got me into reading a bunch of acting books and diving into techniques. Uta Hagen's A Challenge for the Actor. Phenomenal read, man. I love this book. The only problem with this book, and it's something that the next book actually does better, is it's a little bit dated. Now, all the techniques and stuff still hold up to this day, but I just mean from reading purposes. Like, you know, you could just tell it's from a long time ago. And some of the things, obviously the industry has changed a lot, technology has changed a lot, but a lot of the techniques still hold up to this day. I love Uta Hagen. She's a lot different than Sanford Meisner in the sense of, yeah, listening to your partner, putting your attention on the other partner is really important, but you have to do all the eternal things. You have to really focus on yourself. You really have to dive into who you are, what's going on, really dive into the circumstances. Her big thing is character behavior. It's all about what you're doing, right? She thinks that, you know, we're always going somewhere. We're always going to a destination. We're always moving. And so knowing where you're going and for what reason you're going there is basically the cure for self-awareness. While Meisner is like, hey, let's throw it outward. So there's two very different things right there, two very different solutions to the same problem, but I think both work. And I've actually applied both of these techniques at the same time. I do to this day, because I think there's a really good balance there, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But really do like Challenge for the Actor, man. I think it's phenomenal. She talks about how, you know, instead of feeling an emotion, you're acting on what your want is, what your objective is, and that constitutes what the emotions are. Action leads to emotion, which when you first hear it, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? That doesn't sound right. But when you actually play it out, when you actually think about it, it makes total sense. We don't arrive at emotion first. We want something, and on that journey there, we feel emotions. And she has these 3 essential questions that she asks right before you go into a scene, which is, what did I just do? What am I doing right now? And what's the first thing that I want? Those 3 things will catapult you right into the scene, and from there on, you can live truthfully in what you're doing. And so, like I said, very different than Meisner, very internal, but phenomenal when building a character, building behavior, and it's really just about behavior and getting to your want and feeling emotion. So, phenomenal book on that front. And she also talks about transference and substitution, which is really interesting, which is where you actually take something from your real life. Don't dive as deep into it as like Lee Strasberg would and how he kind of taught, because, you know, his is a little bit rougher because you take traumatic experiences and apply those, and it can be psychologically bad. What Uta Hagen does is she really just kind of scratches the surface on taking these real life events, and actually don't use. She talks about how when you use transference, when you use substitution, don't take exact situations. So, for example, if you get into a car crash, don't take it, you know, be careful diving into an exact situation like car crash, because that can be traumatic and there can be a lot of things with that. Use other situations that you can maybe take from that kind of give you kind of the same feeling that can kind of launch you into the scene, that can kind of launch you into the circumstance. And because also too, if you use the same situation, you're kind of taken out of the imaginary circumstances that you're building, and you're kind of locked in that reality of what did happen to you. And so that's why she talks about how you shouldn't really take the exact same thing, because you kind of lose the reality of what you're trying to build yourself in your world. So that's another thing that I love about this book. And the last book we're going to talk about today is Howard Fine's Fine on Acting, A Vision of the Craft. This book I absolutely love. It is Uta Hagen, but modernized. That's what it is for, you know, film and television acting, is what Howard Fine's book is all about. He actually shadowed, Uta Hagen was his mentor. And so he was there with a lot of her master classes and stuff, really went under her wing, and apply a lot of the same things. Really, you know, talks about a lot of internal work, but has a kind of dips his foot a little bit more into more of the external stuff as well. Really talks about that. His big thing is talking about the why instead of the how. A lot of these, even a lot of the old big acting coaches from way back in the day, and a lot of old actors talk about how you need to kind of say a line a certain way to get a point across, whatever it is, and there's some stuff that works there. But he talks about how it's the why. The why will supply the how. If you can figure out why you're doing something, if you can figure out why you're there, if you can figure out why you're talking to this person, all the how will supply itself. You don't got to sit there and feed that. You don't got to feed. That will supply itself and stem from knowing why you are there. Don't worry about the how. Love that from Howard Fine. His 8 steps as well are phenomenal, which is kind of actually what a lot of what my 6 steps stem from, which is who am I? What time is it? What's my relationship to the environment? What are the given circumstances? What are my immediate objectives? What is my overall objective? What are my physical and psychological obstacles? And how do I overcome those physical and psychological obstacles? So those 8 questions are Howard Fine's. Phenomenal as well, man. Great basis to kind of build your process off of. And like I said, just a really good modernized version of Uta Hagen's teachings, which is why this is the #1 book for me. I absolutely love Fine on Acting, man. Go check it out. So like I said, I think that you can really apply all of these different techniques into one. I think you have Sara Mornell's, which is the more business side of everything, which I think is really good, especially just psychologically, to kind of calm yourself when you really hear a lot of what the casting directors have to say and some of the other actors, knowing, hey, you're not in this alone. And then also Meisner being more external, all about just listening and then allowing your impulses to take action. And Uta Hagen and Howard Fine are more internal, about really building the character and building the world. So those are 4 of my absolute favorites. I think you can literally apply all those together, which is what I have done personally, to find what works for you, because no one person's the same, or because one process is not going to affect everyone the same, as we know. So that is just what's really helped me. I really recommend these books, man. It doesn't matter if you're an up-and-coming actor, if you're an established actor. I feel like it's just really cool to check out different techniques and see different ways you can grow, because we're always growing as an actor. And the reason we're always growing as actors and actresses is because we're growing as people. And when you grow as people, you can apply different things to your character, to the scene, to the circumstances. But that's going to do it for today, man. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you guys have read these books, let me know what you guys think of them. If there's any books I did not talk about, let me know some of your favorites down below. But I appreciate y'all, man. Give this video a like, comment down below your thoughts on the books. Subscribe if you're new, with that little bell notification so you're notified every single time I post. And what video do you guys want to see next? What do you want me to talk about? Was there anything in this video that you want me to expand on? I will do that as well. And we'll see what content comes out, baby. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. We'll see you next time.